Hello and welcome to the 19th edition of Half Hour, a podcast starring me, John Paul Giudice, as your host. In today's episode, I'll discuss New York City with Amelie Garcia. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, why not? This week I'm really trying to have a lot of people on the show, so putting in some effort. But if you want to just tell me a little, or tell us a little about yourself, like, you know, where you're from, like what you're doing in Prague, like just things like that.
Okay, so as you may have guessed, I'm from New York City, and now I'm in Prague because I'm actually half Czech. My mom is Czech, and I'm at UNIP because it's the University of New York, so it ties in with where I'm from, New York. So I thought it'd be great to go to the University of New York and be in Prague at the same time.
So the best of both worlds.
Pretty much.
I suppose. Okay, so what is your interpretation of like this place specifically?
Like the school or the city?
Either.
I mean, the school pretty much encompasses New York City in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very Americanized, so I feel like even though we're in Prague, you still get a feel for New York American life and studies.
Yeah, and it's like an English school.
Yeah,
so it's good.
exactly.
Like, we both do good there.
So I feel like I'm in New York, but I'm not really.
Yeah, they have posters everywhere.
Yeah.
Of New York. Quite interesting.
And when they promote the school, they literally have like Times Square background. So it's like you're walking into New York, which is really cool.
I went to I don't know what they call the Gaudimus.
Gaudimus, yeah.
Yeah, and they had it in Brno, Bratislava, but I went and visited in Brno, and they had like a subway station.
Yes, I saw it.
So it's marketed towards like that kind of audience, I guess, like people who are like, oh, I want to go to the big city and experience it.
Yeah, and I feel like going to the University of New York, it kind of makes you want to go to New York even more, and it opens up these opportunities to actually go to New York.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty
possible.
Cool.
Makes you feel like.
Well, it's good because you meet people from all over the world. Like I remember when I originally came here, actually, it was such a big culture shift in school. To be honest, like, you know, where I went before, like if you picture a college like in your head, like that's where I went. Like it was literally in a town with all of the different things, like the dining halls, the dorms, like things like that. But here it's just one building.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have everything.
Yeah, no, of course not. But it was just like a different shift. It was like a totally different.
Yeah,
vibe.
I mean, I have that same kind of feeling going to like high school in New York to here. Like this is smaller than my high school in New York, which is crazy.
So how many boroughs are there in New York?
5.
And they are?
Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island, and Manhattan.
I saw a meme that said Staten Island's always the one that's left out.
Yeah, that's like the irrelevant borough. They're kind of just, they're their own little island, just isolated. No one really cares about that.
And they're just chilling, like doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now we're getting into the subject a little bit. But like what do you want to talk about with New York? Like where should we start? I
mean, I think New York is the best city in the world.
You're a little biased though. You grew up there, right?
I mean, it's not the only city I've been to. I've seen different cities, but I still think New York is the best. Mm-hmm. Because it's just, there's so many different things to do and so many different cultures that you can feel so just it's not like the little towns in America, you know? Yeah. You really feel like there's so much more in the city than just...
Yeah, and basically like the vibe there is so interesting because like there's so many different foods.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was thinking about when you said that. Like I visited not this summer but the summer before in 2021, and like there was just so much different food everywhere. Yeah. Like you could look up any nationality and it would be there. Yeah.
Even Czech, you can find Czech restaurants in New York.
Yeah, I mean, do you know any good places?
There's actually one that my friend's parents actually own it. It's right by the Czech National Hall on East 73rd Street, and they have everything Czech. I really recommend it. It's super good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know that when I drove there, it took like, I think 3 or 4 hours.
From where?
From Boston.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like the wannabe New York City?
Well, I just think it's like a quality versus quantity discussion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know. I don't want to show my true colors too much. But I don't know. I mean, like when I was there, it was a little dirty. You know, it was a little dirty in New York, and the smell and like
There really are so many people there, you know. I agree. It's true.
I just think, you know what, I will say that New York City is like America's showcase city. Like that's the city we show to the world.
Exactly.
Like I can't really disagree with that. I mean, there's tens of millions of people in this city, and it's like our port of entry for a lot of different cultures and like nationalities. Like my ancestors came through
Ellis Island.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. They moved to Boston after that. Right. But
I feel like everything else in America, it's like you say something else, they don't know what anything else is besides like New York and maybe LA.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Prague is to Czech Republic as New York is to America in this way, you know, and aside from the capital stuff, because, Washington, D.C. is the capital.
But the foreigners don't really care about that.
No, they're not there to go see the
Yeah, they
capital.
don't care about that.
But I don't know. I hope that the city just improves. Like, I'm not saying it's like a bad place. I just think the way it's being managed is not. Like, I don't know. Here, I feel very safe riding the subway. In New York, I felt a little.
Yeah, you do meet those crazy people. There are crazy people that throw things at you, spit at you. Rats. There's always a rat there eating some leftover food that people drop on the floor.
Have you seen the one with the pizza and he's like
yes, that's the one I was just thinking of right now as I said that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I watched that and I was like, oh my god.
And there's so much garbage in the tracks. Like the rats, it's like heaven for them. There's so much they can feed off. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But it's.
One thing I'm curious about is like. Okay, so you grew up there.
Yes.
I grew up in a suburb north of Boston.
I mean, I grew up in Queens, so not exactly like the showcase New York City, like Times Square. So.
I grew up in like a neighborhood, like with houses and driveways and basketball hoops and like people on the street.
The American dream.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just sitting here like, how do you feel like your experience is different in this way? Like what was it like growing up in like this mega city?
I mean, it gives you more of an open look, and you kind of know that there's more. Because when people live in these suburbs, they're kind of just isolated to the suburb. They don't really know anything else. Mm-hmm. And the community is just the community. You're not really open to different cultures or different people as much as you are in a humongous city. So I feel like that is important, to have different aspects and different views for everything.
Yeah, like I had a coworker who didn't leave my city for 20 years.
Yeah, and then you're not exposed to anything else. You don't know about anything else anywhere. So.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, I've done a few podcasts on traveling already with a few people, and you know, one of the things we always come back to is like when you travel, you just experience like so much more like culture and like societies and like how these people communicate and like what they're, you know, are they and there's a word, individualistic or collectivistic. Like I took an intercultural communication class here, and that was pretty eye-opening. But New York's cool because you get all of these places and peoples and cultures in one place. Some stories for me, though. When I was in New York the first time, we went to the Aladdin play.
Oh, right. Okay.
At
Broadway, on Broadway?
I think so. I don't really remember. It was one of those theaters, really big theater.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. But I remember this. There were people dressed up as like Spider-Man. And
on Times Square, and like Elmo and Hello Kitty.
Yeah, like
they're everywhere. Yes.
And I remember like my buddy was like, "You should never take a picture with these people," and I was like, "Why?" You know, I'm like 13. I'm like, "What's the deal?" This Asian woman and her two kids were standing there, and they were taking a picture with Spider-Man, and Spider-Man goes like this, and the rest of the Avengers show up, and like other people.
Oh my god!
And they're all asking her for money, so she takes her kids and she's running away, and they're all going after her.
They harass you. They harass you for money. I mean, I get it. They just walk around all day, just in the city, and people just want to take pictures with them, and it's kind of miserable to be in some costume, just like surrounded by so many people all day.
Yeah, like I don't mind so many people, but New York is just another level sometimes. Like I like having some room on the sidewalk.
Yes, and the subways and the buses.
Well, this is another thing, right? Like New York's a grid structure.
Right.
Mostly, right?
Yeah.
Like Boston's not like that at all, but that's another.
So Prague is like confusing too. Like New York, you just have the streets and the avenues.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to navigate. You know?
Yeah, and it's like, it's a grid. It's nice.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking to myself, like, the trams you see here, I always have, like, I've had this discussion at home, I've had it here, and I'm always like, I'd love to see more trams and less cars. But it's like, how do you manage that? I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it's kind of like an optimistic pie in the sky thing, but I feel like it works really well here. Like, people, I can hop on the tram and go anywhere in this city. Like,
yeah. I mean, New York is just so big that, like, there's also so many more metros. Like, here, there's 3 metros. And in New York, you have literally almost every letter of the alphabet and then 6 numbers. So it's like, it's a lot. And it's just impossible to get a public transportation system to just get you everywhere quickly. It's just a mess. And it's terrible.
Part of me is like, I feel like the naming is really bad. Not just in New York. Like in Boston, I think we have the A, B, C, D, E lines.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, why not just have them color coded, or like, but then again, when you have way more.
When you have so many, you kind of run out of
colors.
like,
where's the magenta line? Like, you're going to have a hard time finding that. But I don't know, like, it's just, it really is the showcase city. Like, I don't know. And I feel like our best should be there. Like, that should be our greatest city.
I mean, when people go there to visit, they kind of disregard those things. They don't really see the negatives because they go there to see the positives and kind of, you know. And when you're there for a week, you don't really take in all that stuff. You're just so amazed by everything you see that you don't really look at the gum on the street. But once you're there every day and you're just continuously seeing like pigeons and rats and dirty streets and just, then you kind of absorb it because it's also the same thing over and over. But when you're just there to just be so wowed by everything you see, you kind of just don't care about the bad stuff and you don't even realize it half the time.
Yeah. And I remember when I went for the first time, I was on the bus and I looked out the window and the skyline was incredible.
Yeah.
It's almost like mountains. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy.
It is.
I remember I went to the 9/11 memorial. I feel like that's something we have to talk about.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up in, you know, post 9/11 New York? Like was there a big local cultural element?
I mean, I wasn't born until 2004, so I didn't really experience the immediate consequences of it.
Yeah.
But it's always been something, like, in schools, it's always been taught, and, like, on 9/11, there's always been, like, moments of silence, and it's really been remembered. And a lot of people I know have, like, direct relatives that were affected. So it's, like, people don't joke about it. Like, it's really, like, on that day, people, like, I know someone's dad who died that day as a firefighter, and people, like, uncles, like, have still cancer and, like, are recovering from things that were caused by that. And actually, my mom works on Chambers Street, like, right by where 9/11 was, but she works, like, part-time, so that day she didn't actually go to work, which was, like, I wouldn't be here if she did, maybe. Oh, well, that's kind of like a harsh, scary thing to say, but so she worked right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know that where I grew up, there was this girl who graduated from my high school, and she died in 9/11. I think she was on one of the planes, or maybe she was working there. I'm not sure, but it's funny how not funny, but it reaches out everywhere. It's interesting how it reaches like this.
And the stories, some of them are, like, terrible. Like, I don't know if you've heard the voicemails that people have made from the phone. Like, one of them, it's like, "Hey Jules, this is Brian." You've definitely seen that one or heard of it somewhere. It's like he's telling her, "Oh, the plane is hijacked." Like, it's just so scary. Like, if I ever got a message like that, I wouldn't even know what to do.
Yeah, it's so, you know, hard to hear something like that. And I don't know. I mean, you guys really rebuilt after. You know, there's a whole thing about being a New Yorker. Like, there's like we're New Yorkers. You know.
I mean, the security and stuff is super high now. Like, before, I mean, I obviously didn't live through this, but people were able to just walk through TSA, just no problem. But now it's like any little suspicious thing, it's like you're patted down. I feel like it's like become a more international thing in, like, flight safety, not just New York specifically.
Yeah, they do it here. They do it
everywhere, just to prevent things like that from happening again. So.
Yeah, I know that. I remember I was looking at the Empire State Building. And I was just, like, looking up at it. It's really tall.
Yeah, I mean, the Freedom Tower is taller. by the 9/11 memorial. It's taller.
That's true. I still have yet to go in there.
I've never been in there, actually.
What was the tallest building you've been inside?
I don't know. Actually,
I went to Top of the Rock one time when I was in the 8th grade. Mm-hmm. We went up there and we were like looking. I think I went up there when I was 21 too.
Wow. I mean, I've been to the Empire State Building, but I feel like that's not the tallest one. I mean, I've climbed to the torch of the Statue of Liberty, which is pretty cool.
Didn't they close that?
I mean, this was years ago, like 2017.
Oh, okay.
It was super narrow, just going up this twisted step, and it was so crowded. It was like a single file just going up to the top.
Were there all just people in
there? It was
there?
all just people, yeah. And then you had like a minute to look out. But we took a selfie and then just walked right back down.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
It's like the Eiffel Tower. Except for New York. Yeah. And the French gave us that too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, to me it's interesting how the Dutch were there first. Mm-hmm. And then the British came in later.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Wall Street's interesting.
Yeah.
I like walking there. It's very financial and reminds me about how I'd like to make some money someday too.
Of course.
Maybe not on Wall Street, but I don't know, like some way.
I just think of the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, that's just the only thing that comes to my mind.
I think it's crazy how so many people are drawn to this one place. Mm-hmm. You know, like I feel like in every high school, I don't know, in my high school, there was always this one person that was like, I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to go to the Big Apple and like live there and like make a life there and like have a career. And it really is like the place of opportunity in this way. Like you can, you know, the UN building, for God's sake, is in New York. We were just talking about that in my class earlier.
I mean, everything really depends. Yeah.
Donated that land, actually.
It just all, like people say, yeah, you have all these opportunities, but it's just, if you think about it, if so many people have that mindset that, oh, in New York, there are going to be so many opportunities, like you really need to be like the best at what you do to actually be able to have that opportunity there.
Yeah, the competition's there.
The demand,
you know?
yeah.
All right, what's this about the rent, though?
The rent? Well, I don't pay rent, and I haven't, so I'm not really sure, but it's expensive, like super expensive. I see TikToks that are like, oh, how much do you pay for rent in New York City?
No,
and people say like, oh, like $900. So, you know, you'd think, okay, that's not terrible. And then the guy goes into their apartment and it's literally a room like this with a bed, a little stovetop, and the bathroom's like right there. It's just a toilet, which is like crazy.
I saw a meme, it was literally like a bed.
Yeah.
And it was like $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's probably facetious, but it was just like funny. Like I thought it was.
But I mean, like the location, like it is really a good location. But
I mean, it's close to Europe. It's close to Africa in this way, like closer than LA, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. In Boston, we technically are like the closest to Europe in this way, but New York really is that hub.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see. I don't know. I'd like to see more. You know, definitely. I want to go and like visit more American cities. Mm-hmm. I've been to New York a few times now, but it's hard for me, especially driving, just because like there is like in one day there is a limit as to where I can go, and it's pretty much New York.
I mean,
I live up in that corner.
It's only, how long is it? Like 5 hours.
Yeah, maximum with traffic. I remember I was sitting in traffic on the way back. It was really bad trying to get out of the city, and we drove. I was in my father's BMW. Mm-hmm. It was an older one, though. Yeah. He got it used.
Oh.
I remember when he bought it, there was just a bunch of Christian music on there. Like, the guy who owned it before just had, like, Christian music on there.
Like CDs? Or just, like...
No, it was just downloaded
Oh,
in the
my
car.
God. I mean, going to Boston is just, like, straight highway. Just upon hours, just going straight.
You go through, like, Hartford, Connecticut, and then you just go up that way. I gotta say, Western Connecticut, they're like New Yorkers, you know?
I mean, yeah, they are.
We get kind of mad at them a little bit. Like I had a few people in my old college from Western Connecticut, and I was like, who are you? You know, like,
it's
like which side are you on?
Because they're right, they're in the middle, and it's like they don't really have, Connecticut doesn't have that like one big city people associate themselves to. It's just like you don't hear about like Stamford, like no one really cares about that. So it's like you either go south to New York or up to Boston, you know?
My buddy was pretty harsh. He was like, Connecticut is just the highway in between.
Yes.
New England
I mean, it is.
And,
it's just
New York.
Same thing like Rhode Island, also another state that's just there.
They're honestly like Massachusetts, just smaller and crabbier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like a couple of my buddies are from Rhode Island as well, but I don't know. I feel like in a way, like the states of New York and New England are similar, but
they are, yeah.
But we're like a lot more decentralized. Like you're the version of New England that's very like together and like a lot more people too. I mean, you have a bigger city and you have a bigger population in your state, but New England's very fractured. We got like different states like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. They
all like kind of influence each other. They're also kind of
they're very like each other. Yeah. Very, very like each other. I was going to ask you, like, upstate New York.
Well, upstate New York and New York City are very different.
No, obviously, but there's a lot of people I've spoken to that are like, they want some separation. They want some distance, like.
Yeah, especially in like elections, because the way the elections work, like New York City is always that, like, whatever New York City votes doesn't matter what anybody else votes. New York City is always going to dominate with its population. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, like upstate New York is redder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like in past, it was just election day last week.
Yeah, last week, midterms.
You could see that.
The Republican got pretty close.
He did, I know.
He got very close.
Again, New York City would just, even though he had almost the whole state besides New York City, even Long Island, like just out east, it's just New York City just dominates.
Part of me thinks like New York would do better, like New York City would do better like separate from the rest of the state. But I've never.
But I feel like, how are you going to separate New York City from New York State? Like,
well, not like physically.
Well, obviously.
We're not going to dig a canal, you know?
Yeah, like just. But I don't know. I feel like it's just so many people go there like to work and stuff. It's just you can't separate it in any way. Like just I don't know.
Like, what would you even call upstate New York as a state? Like, would it be
like
just be New York? New York and New York City?
Newer. No, I don't know.
Newer
York? No.
One of my buddies lives near the Finger Lakes.
That's really up north, like super upstate.
What is it, Ithaca?
Yeah, Buffalo? No, that's like Niagara Falls.
That's too far. I was in Buffalo, actually. I went there when I was like 10 years old, actually.
Wow.
That was interesting. We were on the Canadian side, though, because the American side is not as good.
Yeah.
They have the better side, for sure. But, all right, so have you spent most of your life, like, riding the public transport there? Like, just in general?
I mean, I guess you could say so. Like, until I got a driver's license, then I was able to drive myself. And, like, and all my friends around me had driver's licenses, and it was just, everyone drove around.
Like, going to school, okay, so as an example, right, me growing up where I grew up, going to school was in elementary school, I would either walk down the street and go to the school, like, there's woods and there's houses nearby, or someone would drop me off and pick me up. So it's like, that's like, did you get on a bus, like a public transport bus, and go to school?
Yeah, because so, again, like in the little towns, you kind of just go to the school in your town. But in New York City, it's just like, you don't always go to the school that's closest to you. Like when I went to middle school, I had to take a train and transfer trains, take another train, and then take a bus to get home. But then my high school was walking distance, but you can still take the train. But it's just like, everything is also pretty far away. So I was taking public transportation like every day. I'd get a ride in the morning.
Is it reliable? Like, is it like?
I mean, it is. Like on the weekdays, it's reliable. You know, sometimes you get these insane delays.
Yeah.
Like literally, my high school, if you said the train was delayed, like they would believe you, and they just would be like, "All right, just go."
Man, I wish I had that excuse. That would have been good.
But they would look up like the MTA, and it was usually delays. Like it was always some type of delay. So it was such a common thing that there were delays with the public transportation that it was really like an accepted excuse to say that you were late because of that.
Like I guess in comparison to here, because I feel like here is
perfect. Like
I was
here
gonna say
is just wow. Like the weekends, like anytime. New York, the weekends, like you might as well just walk, or take a bike, or like a line bike. There's just too many
people like on the public transport.
No, it's just like it does not come. Like it comes like once every 30 minutes. You're just better off getting on like a city bike or a Lime scooter. You'll be anywhere quicker.
How long do you feel like you have to wait for like the subway, for example? Like the subway pulls up every like minute. Like is it very fast?
I wish. Like 5 minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes like 8 minutes. Not as efficient as here. Definitely not.
I feel like when I came here, like my brain got rewired in some different ways. Like using the public transport system requires some calculation. Like, okay, I gotta be at the metro 10 minutes before I have to be at this location because the metro rides 7 minutes and the walk is 3.
Yeah.
But like I remember when I lived far away from school, I had to hop on a tram that would take me to a metro station, and then the metro would take me to Ipe, and then I'd get off and go to school. But for me, that's like a new element. Now. That's like a very new element. Like if I lived in a major city, like if I plan on living in Boston someday, I would try to rely on the public transport as much as I could, and maybe not even get a car unless I really needed one or I had the money. But like living here and relying on the public transport here has given me like a new perspective, because back home it's all driving, and it's just neighborhoods and the pizza shop and like the mall, and like I will say my city's pretty good. Like we have a lot of the things that you can expect to find in like a large city, but of course we don't have like a Czech restaurant. Like we just don't have that. But
of course. Also, nobody even knows what Czech is. Prague, you say Czech Republic, Prague, they don't know.
I said to one of my relatives, and she was like, Czechoslovakia, you mean? Yeah. And I was like, not anymore, but I'm Italian, and she was laughing because she was like, you got to study in Italy, like what's the matter with you, your relatives, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you want to pay for it? Like, come on. Here it's very affordable,
It is.
But I think it's cool how Empire State College is such a sprawling like institution around the world. Like,
I mean, I've never even heard of it like in New York, Empire State.
I didn't hear of it until I came back here, and they gave me a Empire State College email, and I was kind of like, I thought I went to UNIP, and they were like, well, you have to do this as well, and it's like I check 2 emails, I have courses in one college, another course in another. It's like it's a lot, but they fund a lot of colleges in this part of the world. In Greece, like they have the Greek one.
Greece one.
It's really cool. Yeah. It's a good way of having like an American education around the world.
And then the degrees thing is pretty cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I get it. Like I'm trying really hard to get the European degree. I know I'm going to get the American degree no matter what, but the European degree is the one that I was really hoping to come here and get.
I mean, they'll probably like prep you enough. Like you'll be okay.
I hope so. They were kind of like, I remember I went into the office, and I'm not going to say names obviously, but they were like, when do you graduate? And I was like, oh, this year. And they were like, oh no, like kind of like you need to get on that.
Like almost guaranteed that you get it.
It's the fact that I transferred here. I dragged my feet on the nostrification, and I didn't do too well the first time around. That's like kind of the problem. But I'm hoping they help me out. I think we're gonna figure it out. I just hope that the next school I go to is not so hardcore.
Right. Hardcore, like you'd say here. Hardcore, like how?
Well, when I went to go do the exam, they gave me some math problems.
The nostrification?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Math is really hard. I've always had a hard time.
Yeah, me too. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I don't work.
Yeah, I don't work like that. I'm very like, just. Yeah. I can talk all day. I can't sit down and do equations. And even if I do, the only time I enjoy math is when I know how to do it and I can repetitively do it.
Yeah.
Like I remember on the test, Algebra 1, like that wasn't too bad. Like I was able to just sit there and do it, but what are you going to do? I mean, we're getting close to the time already.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's anything you want to like add, like anything you wanted to mention specifically.
I think we kind of covered a lot. I just wanted to emphasize like how New York City just gives you every possible opportunity, and it's just I'm so thankful that I actually grew up there, and I actually am going back next week for Thanksgiving, some American holiday that doesn't even like ring a bell to anybody in Prague or Europe anywhere.
Yeah, I noticed
no one has any clue.
I was like, "Where's Thanksgiving?" And they were like,
"No, just Christmas is next." Yeah.
Honest to God, until I was a few years back, like maybe like freshman year of high school, I didn't really know that the rest of the world didn't do things the way we did.
Right. No, I kind of like get that. Like, it's like sometimes, I mean, I've been to many cities, like I've been to Prague like every year, But it's just like sometimes it just baffles me that people don't live in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like people live in different cities. Like I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, like
it's
totally
just weird.
different experiences.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And yeah, I mean the you guys got the diversity there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Just easily. But yeah, before we call it Red Sox, go Sox, gotta say.
Yeah, they didn't do well this year at all. New York
I have been following
conquered.
them.
Yeah, well, New York got kicked out.
We got that classic rivalry.
Yeah, of course.
But on it, sometimes I really feel like we are more annoyed with you guys than you guys are annoyed with us. Oh,
I don't know.
Wait. Before I forget, are we that city that you have it with, or is it like Philadelphia or like somewhere in New Jersey? Like
no, it's like so. There's that like New York, New Jersey, like state to state rivalry. Like New Jersey, just like is just wannabe, just irrelevant. No, it's like New York, but not New Jersey. That's just like the second little brother. But like New York City and Boston, like in sports senses, like those are like the rival cities.
But you don't feel any certain way about like Pennsylvania?
No, they're okay. Like they're just. I mean,
are they away? Like they're over there more?
They're further away. I mean, maybe not like geographically, but like people don't care about Philadelphia as much.
What is the city in New Jersey near New York? Is that Newark? Is that the
Newark?
one?
Yeah, Newark. Like,
and you're saying they're kind of like.
They're kind of just Newark. They don't even have like New Jersey doesn't even have a baseball team.
They use yours.
Yeah, like New Jersey fans are like New Jersey people are like Yankee fans. You know, because they don't have anything else unless they ship to like Pennsylvania. But everyone just comes to New York, or Met fans. You know, they have a hockey team. That's.
Well, it's just funny, right? Like, how many people live in New York? It's like what, like
a lot.
10 million or something?
A lot, yeah. More people live in the city than like in this whole country.
Hold on, I'm gonna look.
Like 8 million.
Of course, I look it up. Okay, 8.5 million.
Yeah, 8.5.
Well
million.
over. Okay, let's call it 9 million because this is 8.8.
Okay.
It's just funny to me how, before I say that, in New England we actually like the Boston Red Sox. Everybody follows them except for Western Connecticut. They are very much Yankees fans.
Yeah.
And I think the football goes the same way. Right. But
I don't know about football. I don't understand football. I hate football. Just like I know there's like the Giants and the Jets. Again, but actually the Giants play in New Jersey. So like New Jersey guys are.
So it's the New York Giants in New Jersey.
Yeah, at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, I don't follow sports that much, but I'm there for the big stuff like the Super Bowl, the World Series, like things like that. But it's funny how this city, 8.8 million. Boston doesn't even hit 1 million. It's 600,000.
Really?
Yeah, or 600,000 or 700,000. It's the metro area that is more, but
I didn't know Boston was actually that small.
Yeah, it's like. So, for example, some of the metros go into the cities around Boston, like Malden, Everett, Revere, or Revere if you're from where I'm from. But it's like everything's fragmented on a state level, on a city level. Like Boston could be a little bigger. Like you could say the metro area is pretty large, but the actual city, 600.
Same way. I mean, New York is like you have Manhattan, which is like the city.
Oh, don't let me forget about Long Island. Don't let me forget about Long Island. What's the view on that? Like, what do people see Long Island as?
It's just like part of New York. Like, I'm from Queens, so like Queens and Long Island are kind of friends. They get along. There's no beef between them.
Is that the one that's attached to the western side of the island, like facing New York? Like Long Island's like this, obviously, and like New York's here. Is this where Queens is? Like,
yeah, it's like in the middle. I mean, Queens starts as soon as you get off the bridge, like right.
And you're on the island, like you like.
So you have Manhattan Island, you have a bridge, and right over the bridge you have Queens here, and then you're looking.
So this is Queens.
Yes. No. This is Brooklyn.
Okay, and Queens is like over here.
Queens is here. You have to show.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Manhattan. Oh, you can barely see it, but
watch.
Just
it's like this. Yeah. Okay.
That's Long Island. This little strip over here, and then on the southern side you have Brooklyn, and then more north is Queens across the bridge. So those are more like you have those like suburban driveway houses So it's not like the New York City, like Times Square, like where everyone goes to see. Like no one goes to visit Queens when they come to New York.
Yeah, they're looking for the middle.
Yeah.
Like Manhattan.
Yeah. But it's all New York City.
Well, I guess I have more information for the next time I go. I don't know when that'll be, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Guys, there's going to be a lot of episodes this week, so cheers and enjoy. Bye-bye.